Hello, my YouTube family and friends. I'm back. I wanted to upload this video before I before I settle in for the evening. But I want to read Proverbs. It's the 31st chapter, and it's verse 30. And it reads, "Charm is deceptive, and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Give her the reward she has earned, and let her works bring her praise at the city gate." And that was Proverbs 31 verses 30 and 31. So I'm just trying not to be on here too long. So I wanted to talk about just something that maybe I'm sure you all have noticed it in my videos, I'm sure. But I feel like I've shared a video about it before, but I think it's been a while ago. So some of the newer subscribers may not have even watched that video. But anyway, this scar right here on my eye, I don't know if you can try to get as close as I can, but so back in, and I wanted to just talk about that. Back in 1991, and I'm not trying to just come on here but I want to share this with, because I struggled with this for a long time, what happened, and when I was younger, because it happened right after I graduated from high school. So me and it was the people who were in the car was me. I was sitting in the passenger seat side. My mom was driving. My cousin from Georgia was visiting. She was in the back. I think she was trying to remember the arrangement in the car. I think she was behind me, and then behind my mom, I think may have been it was either my brother or my sister. I can't remember how they were sitting, but one of them was sitting right behind my mom. So anyway, it was 3 in the back and 2 in the front. And so my stepdad was not with us because he was at work. But this particular day, I don't remember what day of the week it was, but I know it was June of 1991. We were headed to take me to the community college in Tennessee. And so I was, to sign me up and everything. I had just graduated from high school, and I was so excited. I remember I had on a new outfit, had a new undergarment. I was so excited about that. I had gotten stuff for graduation, from graduating, gifts and stuff, and I was just so excited. And my cousin was here because she was going to college in Tennessee, so she was there, living with us. So I can't remember why all of us was in the car together. I don't know why she was in the car with us. I don't know if we were going to go somewhere else, but it was just, it was just sort of like a family affair. Everybody was in the car. And so, like I said, my mom was driving. So two young guys, they ran the red light, and I remember my mom, we had the right of way. So they were across from us, and they were turning. You know how the arrow goes off for you turning, and we got the right of way. We're supposed to go because the light is green. And so as my mom is going through the light, they're going on just about 2 wheels, spinning around, trying to hurry. They're trying to beat the light, the arrow, before it goes off, and we collided. Y'all, that crash was horrible. And it's just the grace of God. All of us are still, we made it. We're alive. Because from the looks of that car, the car was totaled. I think it was a Celebrity. That's what it was. I think Chevrolet makes that car. I don't know if they still make it, but I believe that was the name of the car, the model. But yeah, if I'm not mistaken, it was a Celebrity. That's what it was called. But anyway, a 4-door car, and I think it was gray. But yeah, and what happened, they had stolen that car that they were in, and they were just joyriding pretty much. But they hit us, and I remember my mom had on the radio station, she would listen to this AM station, and she was listening to gospel, gospel music. And so I just remember my mom saying, I can't stop, and she was trying to, but it was too late, because they had, they were, we were already right there, and we just, midway, they hit us, and they turned that car completely around. Because my stepdad said when he came on the scene, he said it looked like we were coming this way, but the way the car ended up being like this, because it turned the car completely the other way. They hit us so hard. I think it may have spent the car. I don't know, but anyway, I was out of it. And then I remember after everything was over, the guys, they jumped out their car and ran in the field or whatever, because the car was stolen and they didn't want to get in trouble for that, so they just took off running. But they got them, they caught them. And well, it was horrible, y'all. And so and then I think it was trying to rain or something that day. But my cousin, she didn't get anything but like a scrape on her knee. That's the only thing she got out of that wreck. Everybody else was pretty injured. My brother, he ended up, he hit the back of the seat, so he had a slight little hole, not hole, but a big little knot there on his head. But eventually, I think it healed over time. My sister, her ankle, something happened with her ankle. I can't remember the details of that, but she healed up, because they, of course, all of us were young except for my mom. But but still, that don't not making light of what we had to go through. And then my mom, me and her got like the worst of it, really, because I had on my seatbelt, but I went through, well, I can't remember if I had on my seatbelt or not. I can't remember. I don't know, but I just know that I went through the windshield, because the impact was so hard, it threw me. And then the seat, I had a thing where I would always pull my seat up to the dashboard, and my mom and my stepfather would always tell me, quit doing that. Why you act like you driving? Why you got to be so close to the dash? And I was like, oh, I just want to be up front. I don't know why I did that. But I would always pull that seat all the way up to that dash. Just not, well, my chest on it, but I just want to be up close to it. And so that just aggravated them. But anyway, that time would not be good for me to do that. So my hip got the seat broke or whatever when we crashed, the impact, and so my right hip got dislocated, and through from the wreck. And then, like I said, I went through the windshield. So the firefighters, they had to come and get me out the car, because the seat had broke on my the seat or whatever was on me. It had broke. Yeah, I guess it had broken. And then my hip was dislocated, because that's how hard the hit was. And then glass was just all in this eye, and all this was just flesh, y'all. It was just all flesh. And I remember like I said, me and my mom, we got the worst of it. Everybody else, they went to the hospital, they got dismissed. But me and her, we suffered pretty well. And so me and her were on the same floor in the hospital, and I think they wheeled me to go see her or whatever. But yeah, what happened to her foot got caught between the gas pedal and the brake. And I think it was I want to say it was her right foot. I can't remember. But she, when she was trying to stop, it just caught her. And so the bone was sticking out on either side of her foot. So she had to go through different, surgeries or whatever to get that. And she said last time when we were in Tennessee, she was telling me, she said she still have pain from that, like when it rains or something, it just really bothers her, but they got her all fixed up and stuff. She had to go through casts and different stuff like that. But yeah, she's walked fine, but she just have issues with that, the pain of that. Some stuff you just don't ever completely heal from when it's like traumatic like that. But anyway, the bone was sticking out on either side of the foot, so it was something else. And so then what else? So for me, it was the glass got stuck in my eye, and like I said, they thought I was gonna lose my eye, but God said no, He was gonna heal me. And so it was just a bunch of glass right here. And then, like I said, all of this was just, because I went into the windshield, so all of this was just flesh. And so it took a while for me and her both were in the hospital. I think we both probably stayed in there 4 or 5 days or something like that. And I can't remember. I think I ended up getting out before her, or she before me. I can't remember. But they were keeping me in to make sure that my hip was okay, mainly, because that was the only thing, they had figured out, okay, your eye is going to be okay. You're not going to lose your eye. And then they kept, contemplating whether if I needed some type of surgery, but the doctor said it's superficial. So he said, it'll heal. You'll be okay. So we didn't pursue that, trying to do anything with that. But I was just so distraught, because I was like, oh my gosh, and like I said, if you can see it, I got a little eyeshadow on, but yeah, it was really, see that scar? It was really It was bad. And it was just a big open, sort of open right there where you see that line. It was open right there, and then you can also tell whether, you know, whether all that was just bloody and glass and stuff. Excuse me if it's too much for you, but yeah, it was something else. But it's and then for a while I didn't have any eyelashes because, you know, of the all the stuff they had to do, because I had to keep medication on it. And then lady told my mom, said she needs to get aloe vera, get an aloe vera plant, a piece of it, and it's good for healing. And so I would squeeze that on there, and I put a little medication on there, but it would just make it real, you know, just greasy or whatever, some of that stuff and medication stuff. But I just got where I was so frustrated. But anyway, at the time when this happened and I eventually had to go back to work, I was working at KFC. And so I remember this gentleman, older gentleman, he said to me, you know, I'm serving, working the cash register, and he was ordering food, and he said, I want to tell you something, young lady. He said, whatever abusive relationship you're in, you need to get out of it. And so I was thinking to myself, wow, you know, why such a big assumption there, you know? And I think I did tell him I had been in a car wreck, but he didn't look like I don't know if I told him or if I did, I can't remember. But if I did, you know, I think he said, you know, he didn't believe what I said. I just can't remember if I told him or not, but I think I did. But it was like I didn't even say that, because he was like, yeah, right, you know, you letting somebody hit on you, which that was not the truth. But, you know, some people, you know, they just assume what they want to assume, and they think what they want to think, and that's just how it is. But I was like, wow, you know, and that just really hurt my feelings, y'all, because I'm like, here I was, almost died, you know, we was in such a traumatic, you know, car wreck and stuff, and I'm like, you sit up here thinking that, you know, you just assume that that's what I'm dealing with, you know, not a car wreck or not maybe a childhood injury or something, you know, you just automatically go to that. So anyway, I was like, okay, whatever. But after that, you know, nobody else said anything. But I was just so embarrassed about going to the store, going anywhere, because I think when it first happened, it looked so bad, y'all. It was, all this was just red, fleshy. And even though I would keep medicine on it, coated with the medication they gave me, but it seemed like it just made it more noticeable. But it never bothered my eyesight or anything. I still was able to see and everything. And but yeah, the doctor said you don't, it's superficial, so you don't need surgery. But I wanted to share that because, you know, a lot of times that was just another time when the Lord had his hand on me, which is many times, but that's one of the many, many, many times. He said, you shall live and not die. That's what he told me. And I heard a lady, like I said, it was trying to rain that day, and I feel like that was an angel, but I heard her say, because I kept going in and out, you know, I could hear people talking, and they kept asking me, are you okay? You still with us? And because you know, it was such a hard impact. It was such a big impact. And so I heard a lady say, are you okay? You okay, young lady? And I said, yeah, you know, it was like that. But I was going in and out, and she said, you're going to be okay. You're gonna be just fine. And I feel like that was an angel. And so, you know, but a lot of our family, you know, they seen it on the news. And even my stepfather, he hurried up and came to the scene, because people, we had a lot of family in Georgia then, still do, but they were calling everybody, you know, in our family, they exaggerate a lot. So, you know, they were calling everybody, did you see them? I think they not gonna make it, you know, which all of us were fine. But it was how the car looked and how the information was being communicated. And out of nowhere, here come my biological father. And I'm like, where you been all my life? You know, he came to, you know, I don't know what that is. You know, when people, they what is it? They anticipate the worst instead of the best. And so people coming out the woodwork, people we ain't seen in months, you know, some of them maybe a few years, and they hurry up and got on that road, and, you know, they not gonna make it, they gonna die. And the Lord said they gonna live, and we still living, every last one of us still alive. But I was like, wow, you know, just what is it, communicating bad news, death. So anyway, my biological father, I remember laying in the bed, and I hadn't seen him in a while. But I was laying in the bed, and he said, "This your daddy, you hear me?" And I'm thinking to myself, where have you been? And so it took that traumatic event. It took that, car accident or whatever, very bad car accident, for him to come and see his daughter, because like I said, I had just graduated from high school. So, at this particular time in my life, I still had some whatever against him. So I wasn't mad at him. I was happy he was there. But later we found out from my mom found out, and we were all talking about it, that it was being communicated that we weren't going to make it. We weren't going to be alive long. So that's why so many family members were coming. And we were like, the only thing that happened to me was dislocated right hip, and my eye, but my eye got, they're okay. They discharged us. My mom, all of our injuries were not just so life-threatening or anything, if you will. But like I said, that's one thing about my family, and I could talk about them because they're my family. I love them all. I love them all to life. But what I'm saying is that a lot of times people, that's in their spirit. They wish, they're not wishing, but they think the worst. When something like that happens, because it was all on the news and everything. But when something like that happens, oh, they gonna die. And none of our injuries were life-threatening. None of them. It felt like they were, but they were not. But after, everybody came to see that we were not dying, they went on back to their houses, their homes or whatever, their cities they lived in, states they lived in. But yeah, they came out the woodwork for that. But I was like, well, I guess they cared, that's what matters. But they cared to coming to us with, sort of seeking bad news or whatever. But God said, he told me, he's had his hand on me for so many times, y'all, that I should be dead. So many. And I know he's had his hands on you too. But we just got to thank him. That's why I thank him every day. I'm 51, and I say she always saying her age. Because I'm thankful. I should have died at probably 5. I should have died at 1. I should have died in my mother's womb. But God said, you're going to live and not die. So I'm happy to say my age. I say it all the time. I ain't got to hide my age. I'm thankful. I heard a family member say, they were talking about me. So they said, oh, she always saying her age like she's so old. No, it's not that I'm so old, but I'm so much better. I'm so much better because I'm so much better than what I used to be. I've grown so much since my late husband has passed away. Grown so much, and I'm still growing. I'm still growing in Jesus, but I see the change. I can see it with my own eyes. Things that I once did, I don't even have the desire to do them anymore. Places I used to go, have no interest in them now. Men that I used to look at and say, he handsome. He look okay. He look okay. Because that's no longer a thing for me. And I want to share this, and I'm gonna get off of here. The lady at church, I've shared this previously, but she was, me and her were talking, one of the ladies at church, and so there was this gentleman. He came into church and went straight in the restroom or whatever. And so I just saw I didn't really stare at him, but I seen that he was, he's sort of like he worked out, I guess. I don't know. And his clothes were sort of tight. And so his shirt, tucked in his pants. He was dressed nice, I guess. But I wasn't even looking at him like that. I was just, we standing up there serving communion. But he went by so fast, and so she noticed him. And so she said, she was just making little facial expressions. And so I was like, oh, here we go, And so, but she was doing that for me, because I didn't really get a good look at him, but I guess he looked like he was around my age. But I'm thinking, you don't know if that man married. You don't know if that man is engaged. That's lusting. That's what I refer to as lusting. And even though she's much older than I am, but I'm like, why are you, I'm not even looking at him like that. So why are you doing that? But anyway, he came out of the restroom. He went on into, church or whatever. And so she said, we need more. We need more that look like him. So I'm thinking, wow, that's not the reason we come to church though, And again, contentment. be content. And so that's one thing that the Lord, like I said previously, the Lord is dealing with me on that. He said, I already told you you're going to get remarried. I already know who you're going to marry. I already know how wedding going to be. I know where you're going to have the wedding. I know everything because he's omnipotent. But he said, leave that all to me. You live in your moments of each day. You serve me. You worship me. You praise me. And I do the rest. You don't have to be longing to do nothing because it's already done. But you got to walk through. You got to walk into it. You got to walk into it. And you will. We will walk into his blessings in his perfect timing. That's a word for somebody. Don't try to rush. The Lord said, Holy Spirit said, don't rush the process. You got to wait. You got to wait on him because he know. You can't do that no earlier than what he's already ordained that time to be, because you're going to mess it up. It ain't going to be right. It ain't going to work out. So he said, I know. When the time is right, he going to make it happen for us. So that's a word, y'all. But thank you all so much for listening. Thank you all for subscribing, for commenting. I just pray that you always hear Jesus speaking through me and never me. I love you, but remember, Jesus loves you so much more. The best is still yet to come for you and for me. God bless you. God keep you is my prayer. I pray that you bless somebody today. You are already blessed when Jesus woke you up this morning. Bye-bye.